Hello, hello, Lisa Christensen here. I am the admin of Watercolor Card Group, and I just love our group. I love everything that is to offer. Your art is amazing, and the community is awesome. I'm going to show you how I'm painting this lovely little um, uh, Robin card. It's actually a stamp from Penny Black, and so we're just gonna have fun and paint this. And so, anyways, let's get started. I also, before we start, I wanted to share with you, I got some new paint pens in the mail from Artistro, and I'm loving them. And I thought I would share with you before we get started because I wanted to share how I'm going to use these metallic paint pens, and I actually haven't opened the box yet. I should have slipped the thing, but oh well. I don't have any scissors close by. There we go. Okay. So these paint pens are metallic, and there's different colors in them. These are all the different colors. I'm loving that. Look at that. So, anyways, I will show you how I will paint with these in just a little bit. But look at how beautiful they are. Oh my goodness. I'm so excited. I'm really excited to see how this blue one will look for snow, and maybe this one for well, for sure the gold because of it's so fun. But you can use these for ornaments. You can and they're fine tips, so they're really teeny tiny tips, which is what I love. You're gonna see how fine that tip is. So anyways, I can't wait to show you how I use them. But if you're interested, there's some awesome deals going on. Everybody in my watercolor community gets 10% off of Artistro art supplies, which is awesome. I don't always get good discounts on like all art supplies. Usually it's on like one product. So the fact that they're giving us 10% off everybody, uh, that's pretty awesome. I love that they're so generous with the discount. So anyways, metallic paint pens, and then they also gave me some glitter pens, which I will open up in a little bit. But let's get started, and we will. Yeah, uh-oh. What did I need to get my Misty. All right, so this is a Misty, and I have it way zoomed in, so I'm gonna zoom it out so you can kind of see my full studio space. This is a Misty. This is a stamp tool that I like to use when I stamp on my watercolor card base. So I'm going to show you my whole my whole way of working. I really like to cut watercolor paper down to the size of an A2 card, which is 5.5 by 4.25. And so I'll cut I'll cut like sheets of watercolor paper, 140-pound watercolor paper. Usually it's Canson watercolor paper. So then I just have a whole bunch of blank cards to stamp with or paint or do whatever. So the Misty comes with a rubber insert. You only need this if you're using those clear stamps that doesn't have a padding, but because the stamp, I really like red rubber use with my watercolor because they be the best impression. So that's what I use. But you know, I also buy some others sometimes if I have to. And I'm just lining it up about right there. I think that's about right. And I'm going to make sure that my lines are about, you know, horizontal, centered. And then I'm going to press this down. Then this stamp will automatically stick to the side of the stamp. See? And then I'm going to ink it up. And I'm using brown archival ink. They might be called, this one is actually called hybrid, a premium hybrid ink pad, but it's the same. Either a hybrid ink pad or a archival ink pad is what you're looking to get. And that is not, I didn't move my paper. Okay, that might be a little off, but that's okay. I'm not gonna be too worried about it. You'll still get the idea. All right, and then I just like to kind of give it a nice pressure for about 10 seconds. And then I have a pretty good imprint. I love it. That looks perfect. Okay, then I can set this aside. Now, the beauty of this is if I wanted to make 20 cards, I could just stamp 20 of them at the same time, and it makes for a really quick way of getting stamps onto your watercolor. And because I like to draw, but it takes so much time. I don't always draw um like other people do. Anyways, okay, let's get started on this. I am using watercolor brush pens. You can get them in lots of different varieties and different color combinations. I'm using Artistro's water brush pens, and I'm actually only going to use these 4 colors, which I will focus hopefully. So they look a little bit dark, but they are not. I will swatch them for you. So these are the colors that I'm using. I'm going to be using Midnight Blue. I will also be using Moss Green, which I absolutely love. Scarlet, which is always like, it looks way browner than it is. It's not really that brown. And then I will be using it looks like a chocolate brown as well. So, and then, yeah, yeah. So, and then a cobalt blue, like an ultramarine blue. I'm also going to be using a blender pad. This is a white piece of uh, paper laminated. And what I can do with the blender pad is just add my blue or whatever ink, whatever color. And then I can, it's just like a palette. I can use it as watercolor, which is super convenient. Okay, so I'm going to get started. And we'll start with the birds because the background is just a simple background, nothing too much to go off of. So for the birds, I use this red, the blue, and then the midnight blue. Sorry, red, chocolate brown, cobalt blue, and midnight blue. I want a lot of variation, and there's the yeah, okay. My hope is, all right, so there's a couple different ways to go about this. I really like to use my brown first, and I'm just gonna almost use it as like a coloring page. And I'm gonna, I feel like I'm outlining it like a little kid, but that's okay because I'm gonna take my water brush, my brush with clean water, dab it on the towel a little bit. And then I'm just gonna wet the paper. And I don't want I want to keep my brush on the paper as long as possible. There, I'm loving that. And I'm not going to go as dark, but I am going to add some of this blue that's already on my palette, and I'm going to add it into the brown. That will give it some variation, and it's just going to look more painterly. And then once that dries and I get a good idea, it'll it'll dry a bit grayer, which is the hope. All right. Now I'm going to do the second to the other bird. We're going to get all the darks in first. And we'll probably have to do 2 layers. I'm just wetting the paper down a tad bit just so I can get a little bit on. And that way it'll kind of whooshes on the paper. You can kind of see a different technique. Still very fun. Okay. I'm just going to let the watercolor do its thing. Same thing over here. And so right here, there's no line that says where the red or, you know, where the different colors should go. So I just kind of eyeball it. And that's part of the fun. I think with watercolors, you get to choose. Okay. It's looking good. Now I can go back in with my brush. See how this, I couldn't have planned that, and I really like that. I want it to look painterly and, you know, something like a watercolorist would make it look like, which is, you know, the plan. I can still get those blooms and plan for them. And when they actually happen, then you're like, yay, which is always nice. I really love brush pens because they give me the opportunity to use watercolor in a way where when I'm waiting for my kids to get out of a sport, I can just bring these with me, and it's not like I'm setting up a whole big thing with my watercolors. So for me, the the fact that they're very portable makes me really enjoy these watercolor brushes. Okay, now I'm gonna go in and actually use an orange to go with my robin, which I forgot. And the orange really helps with, robins have this like really pretty orangey red, especially on like the bottom of the belly. So I'm just gonna go in and just add some onto the paper, almost like you're scribbling it on. No real. And then I thought about cleaning it with, or, but I'm gonna go back in with the red brush and add that. And I'm leaving some white space because I want it to look a little bit, I want that paint to kind of bleed. So that's why it looks kind of funky. But with the watercolor, with a brush, a clean, damp brush, I can add, I can kind of just blend it together. And it's okay if you go out of the lines a little bit. It's a watercolor card. It's supposed to be fun. It's supposed to be watercolory, painterly, right? Now I know from value studies that this bird is going to have to be darker than this bird. So I will definitely be using another layer for this bird. But I do love how the watercolor is just kind of blooming and making it look more painterly. And right now this is very mid-tones. I want my birds to be a bit darker, but we're just starting out. And I think that's going to look quite lovely when it's dried. Okay. Now I'm going to let that dry, and I'm going to work on the berries and the leaves. There's not a whole lot that I do with this. For this brush, I love that the tip is so fine. I can get into little details. And then like here, I'm just gonna go with the lines and just kind of do a flicking motion, which will look quite lovely. There, I'm liking that. I studied calligraphy, so I know that when I want my where I want my lines to be, and I know I have to use my brush handle my brush a little bit differently. So that's where I'm moving my angle. I want the little tip, and then I want it to be broad, so I start at wherever the line is and then brush it towards that way, and with using more pressure. All right, and then with the berries, I did the same thing with the color of the robin, but I used a little bit of orange, like maybe the top. And then I go back in with the red. And I usually, because they're watercolor brush markers, are juicy, so I won't have to actually use my watercolor brush to blend it in, which is quite a nice little thing. Looking good. Okay, that's looking quite lovely. I forgot one berry right up here. And I think I'm gonna have to play around with this. I don't really want the blooms over here. And I don't think I'm gonna be able to, like, I will just have to make this a bit darker, which is not a problem. Okay. Let's go with some more of the brown. Because this is probably going to have to be a bit more darker, I'm going to go ahead and add the brown here. And the blue is already quite lovely, so I'm going to try and keep the blue right where it needs to be. Yeah, just like that. It's looking good. I'm going to go in with my midnight brown now, and that will add to the richness of the brown. It's not going to change it a whole lot, but it will add a little bit. And I'm just going with the lines of the stamp. There. And then I'm going to just kind of blend it in so it doesn't look, so it looks a bit more painterly. Not like I've outlined it. There. And I'm going to blend the dark into the light. And I think I got a pretty good, I'll zoom in as much as I can, sorry. Yeah. You can see how cute that is, huh? Okay. Let's keep going. So I wanted to, I really like this. I'm just going to add a little bit more of the brown. To wherever the feathers are. And I feel like I'm outlining it again, but that's okay. There. I'm really loving that gray that I have. And I know my brush is a little bit damp, so that makes it kind of lovely to just move the paint around a bit. I'm just trying to give the bird form. So this is round right here, so I'm trying to pull the darker brown into the middle and letting it just kind of do its thing. And I think that works. That looks a bit darker. I'm going to add a little bit more dark. This is my midnight blue. Just to give it a little bit more depth. I think I'll just add it right there. And maybe a little bit right here. Just to give it some more depth. And again, I'm going to add that form, so I'm thinking of a, you know, as a spear. There, that looks quite lovely. Okay, I'm loving that. Isn't that beautiful? I just think that's quite beautiful. Okay, now let's go into here. It's dried up a little bit lighter. You can kind of see the brown, you can kind of see the red, but let's glaze it so we can get that darker value into this cute little bird. I really love this stamp. It's so much fun. Reminds me of the cute little robins that stay around all winter. We're in Iowa, and so it gets cold. You don't always see robins in January and February, but I don't know where they go because they, like, for 2 weeks out of the year, I just won't see them, and then I'll see them again. And very rarely will I see one in January if it's really cold, but this year I'm keeping a nature journal, so we'll see how it goes. I'm kind of excited for that. I don't know if you guys keep a nature journal. I would love to hear your stories, and maybe we could do a nature journal card experiment this winter. Because I think nature journaling could totally turn into a card once you're done journaling, and you're done, you could totally give it to somebody as a card. All right, I did add a little bit of that cobalt blue just because I wanted a little bit more of that mid-tone, but I'll go back in with a darker midnight blue to add to it. And I see where I need it. I need it right about here. And it's just going to gray it down. It's going to cool it down and make it more gray toned. See how that midnight blue is just more like a gray? And that's what I'm looking for. I'm not looking for a like a dark purple or something. I just want a nice little mid-tone. And you can see here I went a little bit darker, and I don't mind it, but I really wanted the birds to be more painterly in this one. So not gonna go as dark, although you totally could. All right, that's good. I'm gonna leave the birds. I really love how there is a lot of, I love this orange and red together. It really works painterly wise. And this too right here looks beautiful. So I'm gonna like, for for lack of anything else, I'm walking away from the birds, but I do need to put a beak. And this is just a light orange. It's pumpkin, and it works perfectly since I already have that orange down here. It's not a far catch to say, hey, the beaks are a bit orange anyways on robins. And you could probably make this into a blue jay pretty easily too. I think any kind of winter fluffy bird, could work. Now I did go a little bit over here, but I don't think anyone's gonna really notice. All right, now onto the background. I'm gonna add some of this cobalt violet to my blending pad right here. So I just colored it onto the pad. Just like, well, that's brown. Whoops. Just right here, I just colored it onto the blending pad. It's really juicy, so I won't probably need all of that, but it's there if I need it. And then I'm gonna just move this a little bit. You'll see I won't need a whole lot. I'm wetting it down with just my brush, and this is almost like a glaze. And I'm gonna go around the whole, everything with this, and it's just gonna, and I'm figure skating with my brush. I'm not moving it up until I need to move my paper or get more watercolor. And it just gives it a nice little, it's not stark. And I always start at the dark with the most pigment on my brush at the bottom or the top. This time it's the bottom, and I'm going up. And you might wonder why, because the sky is either darker at the top and lighter at the bottom, or vice versa. And this time I figured the sky can be darker at the top, at the bottom, and go towards the top. Same thing with this. It's just a little trick that I've learned to paint with skies is either pick light to dark or dark to light. And it doesn't really matter, but just so you're aware of it. It's quite a fun little project to paint. I definitely recommend penny black stamps. And it's okay that some of this watercolor bleeds. It's painterly, right? And it's a background. Like, I don't always fuss too much with the background. Most importantly, because it's fun to paint. That is beautiful. All right, with the extra bits of, I'm just gonna splatter, and that splatter is maybe a little too much, but that's okay. I'm not gonna worry about it too much yet. With a dry brush, I can just kind of move it around a bit. Try again, maybe up a little higher. There. I want to get some atmospheric watercolor into the background so it doesn't look like a flat wash, which is precisely what I'm doing, and it's turning out quite lovely. Yep, I'm going to leave that alone. All right, now I'm almost finished with this, but I'm going to use my taupe color if I can find it. I have all the colors that I want to use. Tomorrow I think I'll do another live demo and I'll show you what I'm doing. I really want to do a lot more live demos because you guys seem to like it, and I think there's a lot to be done. So I'm just doing a dry brush right here on the snow. It just adds a little bit of depth. You can totally see it, I hope. Yeah, you can see how I just lightly across the paper, very like feather light, not a whole lot of pressure. And then, because I already have this blue down, I'm just going to add this gray color. It's taupe. But because there's already blue, it's going to look a little bit warmer. And I'm just going right over it just to add a little bit more depth to the background. Give it a little bit more of an anchor, because I don't want my birds to feel like they're totally just flying away. Like, I want them to be grounded, because they're on the ground. But again, I want it to look like it's snow on the ground. Okay. And that's where my metallics are going to come in just a second. And then I'm just going to blend that line a bit so you don't see the actual, it just looks like it's part of the picture. Yeah, so I'm just blending that line, that gray line, that stark gray line, and see what I can, yeah. So it's just there, just enough to give it some anchor. So there's the birds, and they are totally super cute. Okay. Let's go with the metallic paint pens. And then I'll show you what else I like to do with paint pens. And I'm going to be doing a bunch of different things, but we're going to start with the white and the silver. And we're just going to give a little bit of glittery goodness to the whole painting. All right, but first we got to shake them up. Okay. Now with my blender palette, I could put some right on the palette and that would be just fine. I'm gonna start right here. Wait for it to prime the nib. There we go. And it might be a little bit tricky to see, but I'm just going to add a little bit of lines wherever the taupe was. And I think I'm just going to add a little bit of metallic right at the, yeah, just to give it some shimmery. Okay, and then with the silver, I'll add a little bit more. I always like texture in my snow because it's not snow, at least Iowa snow, is very coarse. Like it can be powdery, but it's not always powdery. It's like snow cone snow. It's not like perfect snowman weather snow. There. Ooh, I really like that. So this is one way to use paint pens. This is not the correct, well, there's no wrong way to use paint pens, but I don't like to like outline stuff. I just like to use paint pens as texture. And you could probably even, I'm just going to put some on my blender palette. And I got my brush. It's not going to hurt the brush because it's water soluble, which is awesome for watercolorists. And I'm going to take this, and why not get some more splatters. Now if I don't like all the splattering, like there's splatter on the birds, and you could take the time and put tissue paper over the birds, but I find that that is probably not worth my time. So I just take my brush and I will just take away some. I'm going to keep some of it because I really like the splatter on some of the birds, but I don't need all of the splatter on the birds. Eventually your brush won't pick it up, so you gotta clean it off and do it again. And sometimes the paint will dry a bit faster, but that's okay too. Scrub it off. Okay, there we go. I'm loving it. How pretty is that? You can see the gold, you can see the shimmer. I'll try and focus in a little bit more on it. Isn't that gorgeous? Oh, so much fun. Paint pens are the best, you guys. I hope you use them. Anyways, hey Chris, how are ya? It's good to see ya on here. Let me refocus. Okay, so that's how I like to use paint pens. Let me show you another way to, yeah, that turned out quite lovely. You could do the same thing on this one. I might as well. I'll use the glitter pens another time. I am happy to do lots of demos. I say the more we learn, the better our community is. And so I think yeah, there we go. All right, I'm going to leave that one alone. And there's our, here's the one that is my demo. Here's the one that I actually did for you guys. And I think that one turned out almost better than the first one. So happy winter, everyone. I'm not looking forward to winter, but when I paint stuff like this, it makes me happier. So anyways, happy painting. Oh, I bet it is cold in Pennsylvania. Yeah, we were supposed to get snow today, but I think that chance has passed. So yay! But anyways, Chris, if you have any questions or if you want to see other demos, let me know. I did share some of my favorite reds. I usually like to use a scarlet red and a cad red. They're about the same color, but then with an orange. So that's how I get like a Christmassy neutral color. If you want to learn more about reds, because Chris, was it you that asked about the reds? I don't know. I'll do a whole demo on reds. And I would love to do like 20-minute demos on each different color so we get a good idea of how color theory works, because I absolutely love color theory. But anyways, for now, I'm going to sign off and I will talk to you guys soon. Let me know if you have any questions or if you want to learn anything. It's always worth it to ask because I might be able to do a demo for you. Anyways, we'll talk to you guys soon. Bye for now. We'll see you. I will probably be back tomorrow. No, I will not be back tomorrow. I will be back hopefully Wednesday morning-ish, Central Standard Time, so about 11 o'clock or 1 o'clock. I'll put a I'll put a I'll put an announcement in the watercolor card group because I would like to paint you guys. I'll show you what I want to do. I want to do this card with watercolor brush pens and glitter paint, the glitter paint pens. So it's a fun stamp. It's a it's a bunch of little stamps that I put together in one motif. Um, anyway, so that's the plan. You're welcome, Chris. Thanks. I hope you have a good day too. I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye. Oh, yeah, it is. It's a fun little stamp set that I can't wait to paint. And I think it goes well as a shaker card, which may or may not happen. Anyways, I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.